Okay, so some admin things. First, Wednesday, we're supposed to get like 7 inches of snow again. So speaking of snow, I will Slack you guys Wednesday before noon on if I'm planning on being here or not. I was going to say, obviously, if I'm not, you guys can still come in if you like being in here. But if the door code's not working, that might be an issue. But I am like super anti-weatherman, and I think they're always wrong. So if it doesn't snow, we'll be in here. If it does snow, I don't want you guys to risk driving downtown. So I will let you know on Wednesday. So check Slack. I will let you know for sure by like noon, like I said. Monday, we have off because of President's Day. I am going to, after our class Wednesday, I'm actually going to do it before class Wednesday. I'm going to record a class that we would have by Monday, which will give you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday to watch it and catch it up. So we don't have to go an extra week and come in just for one more Monday for the file. I just don't want to push it back. I think if I record it and like send to you guys and give you 5 days to watch and catch it up, you can like pause and unpause and like follow along as is. The nice thing is that class, that will be class 7, is pretty much all prep work for our final, which is class 8. So really, if you guys like follow along with the video, I'll tell you guys what you need to. We pretty much build our final project like 70% of the way, and then the final project is just you guys adding the last like 30%. So really, you could realistically get the final project done before class Wednesday, and then just come in, show it to me, and leave. So then that brings us, okay, so this Wednesday, may or may not have in-person class. We'll obviously have virtual class. Monday will not have class at all, but you will have a recording that I'll send out after Wednesday to catch up on. And then next Wednesday is our final class. You guys will have all the requirements and everything before that. So like I said, I've had people work ahead. All you have to do is once it's done, show it to me. I'll click through it, make sure it works, and they'll hand you guys your certificate and we'll be good to go. So if you get it done before class, just come in, show it to me, and you can leave within 5 minutes. If you don't want to do anything and are a good test taker, come in with nothing done. I've had people spend the full 3 hours. No one's ever not gotten it done. We'll get it done together. But that's it. We have tonight, Wednesday, no class Monday, and final on Wednesday. So we are in the home stretch here. Preview of what we'll be doing. So tonight is quick table calcs. I kind of told you guys this last time. It's like classic what they did in high school is like show you the really hard, confusing way to do something so you understand how it works, and then show you the easy way to do it the next night. Tonight will be the easy way. So we'll cover pretty much everything that we covered with the level of detail calcs and window functions from last night or last Wednesday with an easy drag and drop button. So we'll do that tonight. Class 6 on Wednesday is going to be over the analytics pane in Tableau, which is a lot of the really cool like data science, like modeling stuff that they have baked into Tableau. It's just easy drag and drop stuff. So you can do forecasting, you can do clustering, you can do box and whiskers. I've seen somebody already do one of those in class. Trend lines, you can fit regression models, all sorts of different stuff. So we'll do that. And then, like I said, class 7 will be prep work for the final. And then this will be the final. So this is what our final project will be. You guys should all be, it's basically just building your own version of this. You guys should all be familiar with the data because it's just using our Superstore data. But 2 main components of this dashboard is this little map over here and this little scatter plot over here. The cool thing about this is it's super dynamic. I actually calculated at one time. I think there's over 1,000 different permutations of charts you can show on this. It's called a self-service dashboard. So right here, we're showing profit margin colored by the states, and in the scatter plot here, you can click into all sorts of different data points here that update both sides here. You can click into a specific state and that'll update the scatter plot to be just for Nebraska. You can group over here by category, ship mode category. That obviously updates this. You can change the X and the Y axis in here. So essentially what this is just building a dashboard for someone to use that doesn't know how to use Tableau. You're like building an easy Tableau version for them, which is pretty cool. So that'll be it. This is what we'll need to have done by next Wednesday. to complete your guys' cert. But like I said, I'll build 70% of this in the video I send you guys prior, and we'll be good to go. Any questions on the remainder, the next 2 weeks, the next 4 classes? Okay, if you guys are virtual, obviously on next Wednesday, instead of getting handed a certificate, I will show it up to the camera like this and then mail it to you guys. But they're super sweet. I should have grabbed one on the way down here. They're very pretty and formal looking, and myself and Crystal and Nate all sign them. And you guys will officially be Data Viz certified, and you'll be on to your next course.
So that was my question, Charlie, is that if we're remote, we just would take and do everything online?
Yep. It's just like a normal class. And then on Wednesday, you'll just send me the link. You'll send me your Tableau public link to whatever you're built. I'll click through all the requirements to make sure that it works. It'll be good to go.
Thank you.
Cool. So for tonight, since thank you. I think everyone did it for sending me your functions that you found for calculated fields in Tableau. Obviously, that would be a super boring storytelling. So tonight I'm going to do the storytelling, and I'm going to show you guys how to connect to some live data, and we are going to actually build a little quote unquote live dashboard right here in class. So again, this will be recorded. I'm going to try to get through it quick because it's not the main portion of tonight. So if you want to try to follow along, great. But we'll probably not pause for questions if that's okay. So in order to do this, let me actually show you guys 2 things. In Tableau Public, which is obviously the free version that we're all working off of, there are really limited options to connect to live data. So, we've always just connected to Microsoft Excel right up here. You can do text files, JSONs, Microsoft Access, I guess could technically be live. But to a server, these would be your server options. The only ones we have are Google Drive, OData, which I'm not even sure what it is, and a web data connector, which is deprecated. So really you only have Google Drive. In Tableau Server, the version I use for work, if you were to want to connect to a live data source, I'll go ahead and pull that up right now. This is all, if you guys see any of this data, it's all redacted. Don't look at it. There are 77 different pre-built connectors that you can pull in. So obviously here's OneDrive as well, but there are Databricks, Dropbox, Microsoft SQL Server, which is what we use for our production data, MySQL, Snowflake, Salesforce, we connect directly to that a lot, Postgres. So essentially any database that your application or product or something could live in, you can connect directly to that. And then as the data gets updated real time, your dashboards would be updated real time. But in Tableau Public, we have Google Drive, so that's what we were going to be working off of.
We could technically connect something like Google Drive can move shuffle on bills, right?
Yeah, if you wanted to tie Google Drive and have some sort of flow to populate Google Drive from something else, you could use that as kind of an intermediary stage. Yeah. So in Google Drive, we're going to create a new Google Sheet. We're going to call this ODSA Spring 2025. Nope. I'm going to share this with you guys. We're going to build it out. We're going to populate it together. But I'll send that link in a second. So I'm just going to bring over your guys' names right now. And then let's do favorite chart. Copy and paste from bar by scatter. Okay. So we are going to, let's actually move this over one. 0 through 10 score. So I'm going to share this with you guys. in the Slack channel. And I want everyone to go in and by their name, put their favorite chart, either bar, pie, or scatter. I just listed these right here. Type them exactly the same so we don't have to worry about cleaning stuff up later. So put your favorite chart in here and a 0 through 10 score. So for instance, I like bar charts, and I think they are a 9 out of 10. It's all fake data. We just need data to work with. But everyone go in there and add in your 2 columns here.
So my Slack channel is
Oh, okay. I can give it to you. Does just like the direct message that you messaged me and work?
that's the only thing.
I think that view only, Charlie.
Oh,
But it's not just.
anyone with the link can edit. Let's try that. There we go.
See.
If you got, that's okay. Originally, I was going to say use one of the 3 that I put right here, but that's okay. It'll be more fun if we have different ones. You can leave them. You can leave them. It's okay. I saw the Gantt in there. We can keep it. Okay. As you guys are finishing that out, it looks like we're pretty close. Now we have this data set, right? Again, it's in Google Drive. It's a Google Sheet, so it's going to seem a lot like Excel. But imagine that this is like a production database, and your users are entering information and is populating in here. We open up Tableau Public just like normal. Instead of connecting to Microsoft Excel, we're going to connect to Google Drive. And on the side, it pulled up a little screen here. It's going to make me sign into Google Drive. Oh, no, cancel. Wrong Google Drive account. Sorry. Great. Let's try that again. Google Drive. Use another account. And it'll say, are you sure you want to? It already has access. That's totally fine. Okay. So now you can see I'm connected to Google Drive. Here's all my Google Drive folders. And I have to explain this every time I teach so people don't think I'm a serial killer. In college, I did a research project on 3D scanning and printing brains, like dogfish brains and hamster brains and all sorts of different things. So if you see this file in my Google Drive called 3D brains, I promise it was for scientific purposes only. Okay, ODSA spring 2025. Right, here's our Google Sheet. We're going to connect to it. We already got our sheet 1 in there. And voila, here you can see all the data is that we just entered. First name, last name, favorite chart, 0 through 10 score. All right, so we're just going to make a real simple dashboard. I'm not going to spend a ton of time doing this. But let's just do favorite chart, rows, and let's do just a count so we can see how many people voted for each one. We'll call this count of favorites. And then let's make a new sheet. Let's do favorite chart. And let's do our average 0 to 10 score, something like this. And let's call this average scores. And then let's create one more. Actually, let's go 2. Let's do just a count. We'll call this, whoops. Total responses. And what was the last one I was going to do? Oh, the last one I was going to do is just a real simple table like this. Raw data. Okay, now this isn't going to be pretty, but we're just going to bring everything in real quick. Let's go. Total responses here. Let's do raw data here. Let's do kind of favorites down here. Average scores right here. And just because I can't help myself, let's align this a little prettier. Okay, so we have our total responses, raw data, the count of how many people put each one, and then the average scores here. Okay, we're gonna save it. Gosh, just a ton of signing in and out today. Okay, when I go to save this here, just like normal, except now you can see there's this little checkbox, keep my data in sync with the data source and embed my credentials. So normally when we just publish like an Excel or something that's static, it doesn't give us this option. But now that we're connected to Google Drive, it's saying, do you want to publish your credentials? So Tableau Public can pull from your Google Drive and keep it in sync. We're going to make sure that's checked and click save. Gosh, it's making me sign in one more time. And now, voila, here's our dashboard. So far, very anticlimactic. We could have done this a million different ways. But what we're going to do now is everyone go back into the, whoops, that's attendance. I don't want that. Everyone go back in. Yeah. No need to follow along. This is actually not the point of tonight's lesson. Go back into the Google Sheet. I just added another row for everyone. Now go ahead and put in your second favorite chart in a score. So something different than you did the first time. Yep, the same Google Drive link. Hey. All right, 10 more seconds to go in. Add something in there. That's okay. All right, so we built our dashboard based on that first initial version of the data. We published our dashboard and embedded our credentials. So this is what it looks like right now. At the bottom of Tableau Public, there's this little option, data refreshed as of 6/21. It's now 6/23. We have new data in there. If I click request data refresh, it says it's been requested, refresh the page. I click refresh here. Now instead of, hold on. Gosh, it was looking like it was loading. It's not showing the updated viz. Sorry, this is very anticlimactic. It might just be a little slow. While we're waiting for that, I'll just show you in the desktop version. If I go to data and I click refresh here, my data is going to refresh. So now I can see that there's now 24 total responses. I have some pies and some scatters, 4, still only 1 map, 1 donut, a bar. My average scores have now updated. I'm not sure why it's not doing it in Tableau Public because it's supposed to be, but that's what was supposed to happen. So the applications of this, I've used this before I trained for a marathon a couple years ago, and every day I updated in a Google Drive how many miles I ran and what my time was. And then I just had one single dashboard that like my family and friends that were tracking my progress could go out and like look at to see it every day. I've had people in my class build like chore charts for their kids where they have like the Tableau Public actually like on a TV at home, and their kids go in and mark done when their chores get done, and that automatically updates there. Matt, I think you built something the other day based on one of the side businesses that you're doing right now where you can go and update when people are reserving different trucking spots or whatnot. And everyone has access to one dashboard, but you control the data behind it so they can go in and look at the updated real-time data. A real life example that I did at work today is we just rolled out new pricing and packaging last week. So everyone wants to monitor how many sales that we do every day. Again, this is just connected directly to our Salesforce account. So all of our leaders can go to the Tableau dashboard, click refresh, and see the numbers update as the sales continue to roll in there. So in desktop, it's under data sheet and then refresh, or just click F5. In public, I'm worried I just went a little too quick.
I usually go to data source, and when I click on anything in data source, it refreshes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That's a long way to do it.
Cool. So again, this wasn't the point of tonight, but this is, since we didn't have homework to show and tell, this is my show and tell. Any questions on connecting to live data? And again, if you want to do that, obviously I clicked record at the beginning there, so you can go back through and watch all the steps. Tableau does, I feel like I wasted it. You can only refresh it once a day on Tableau Public just because there's server costs, so it can't update real time. Again, another reason to buy their premium version as opposed to the free version. But if you guys wanted to build something like this, connected to Google Sheets to live, track something live, this is how you do it. Cool. Now for the main goal of tonight. Quick table calculations, your new best friend. They allow you to do everything we did last Wednesday in a simple drag and drop manner. So I think actually tonight will be a decently short night. Let me look ahead here. Yeah, really just 2 sections to this, basic aggregations and then working with dates and times. So basic aggregations would be like the level of detail calcs, working with dates and times would be like the window functions. So I think we'll cover this in the first half hour here, take a quick break, come back and do this for about half an hour, and then have plenty of time at the end for homework. Sound good? Let's do it. Okay, so everyone open up Tableau Public. If you're trying to follow along, feel free to close out of the one that we did with the live data and open up a new one. Connect to Microsoft Excel or Superstore data. Bring over our orders and go to sheet 1. While everyone's getting that open, I'm going to get another LaCroix real quick. Everyone got it open, ready to go? Cool. So we are going to start with just category on our rows.
You can share your screen, please. Or maybe you froze, I'm not sure.
Is it not sharing?
I can only see the Salesforce.
Oh, okay, it must have froze. Gosh, I did not miss that while I was teaching remotely on Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, got me now. Cool. Do you guys need any help there?
Yeah, I lost that itself out. Oh, it'd be easier for you to slack me that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, I just sent it to you. Let me know when you get it up. Okay, so category on the rows. We will do subcategory onto rows as well. And then let's go ahead and just drag sales onto text.
Charlie, there's nothing coming up on the screen.
Okay. I wonder if there's...
There we go. Awesome. Thank you.
Gosh, we're already at almost done with class, but we come in on Wednesday. I'll bring an Ethernet cord because that seemed to work really well at home last week. But category, subcategory, and then sales onto text. So you should have something that looks like this. Then let me look ahead at what we need to be doing. Okay. Now, I actually don't know if we've covered this or not, because typically we just work with sums. But here where it says sum of sales, if I click this little drop down, notice how in here you can do measure where it says sum. You can choose an average. You can choose a median. You can choose account or account distinct. Let's go ahead and do an average for now. And then let's drag sales back on the text here. So we have average and a sum.
Another one?
Yep. And then let's click that show me and make it a table so it's a little prettier. Does everyone have this? Cool. Now, and I apologize in advance. We're going to do the same thing like 6 times tonight, so stick with me here. But let's click back where it says sum of sales. Click this arrow again. And instead of going where it says measure sum, there's another option down here called quick table calculation. So when you hover over this, you can see a running total, difference, percent of total, rank, percentile, and moving average. We're going to go through each one of those and talk through what it's doing and some potential use cases to using them. So let's go ahead and first just start with running total. So now we should have average sales, running total. And since we got rid of just our plain sum of sales, let's bring sales back up to measure values right here as well. Okay.
Sorry, can you show me that again?
Which part?
What?
The last part.
The last part was just bringing sales up here on measure values.
Oh,
So we should have, do you have average sales, running total, and sales? Cool. So let's look what running total is doing here. We start with 114,880 for bookcases. The running total is exactly the same. However, the next one, chairs, sum of sales is 328,000. Our running total goes to 443,000. So it's adding these two up, 443 to 329. And then furnishings adds in another 91,000 for 535. Tables adds in another 206 for 742, and so on and so forth. All the way down after phones, 2,297,201, which you can see is the total sum of all of our sales. Everyone with me so far? No.
No, I don't have the running total.
Okay. Do you have average sales and sum of sales? Where it says sum of sales, just click this drop down. Go to quick table calculation towards the bottom there, and then click running total. Any other questions here? Okay. So now we should have in our measure values average sales, sum of sales with this little triangle, which lets you know that there's a quick table calc in there, which is our running total, and then just sum of sales again. So again, we're going to go off of our third sum of sales. Like I said, we're going to do this a few different times. Click the arrow here. Quick table calculation, and choose the second one, difference. So now we should have average sales and then two sum of sales, both with the triangle for the running total and the difference. And again, let's bring just our plain sum of sales back onto our measure values, just so we can see what we originally started with here. So now let's look at difference. We have nothing in the very first one, because what the difference is doing is comparing the difference or subtracting the row that we're on from the previous row, just like that window calc did that we talked about on Wednesday. So since there's nothing in the previous one for the first one, this is blank. But now for the second one, chairs is showing a difference of 213,000. So what it's doing is comparing the 328 for chairs versus the 114 from bookcases and saying that's a $213,000 difference between those two. Now, remember on Wednesday, what we would have had to do is use that lookup function, sum of sales minus 1 to get the previous row, right, to bring it down. And then we'd have to do another calculated field, do the current row minus the previous row and get that, and then drag that onto there as well. So it would have been 3 different steps, a level of detail calculation field, and then obviously just drag it over here. This is as simple as clicking a button. So it goes all the way down, 328,000 versus 91,000. That's 236,000 less, so on and so forth, all the way down. Everyone with me for difference? Does everyone have average sales running? Here, let's make this the whole screen. Running sum of sales, a long table down, difference, and then just sum of sales.
Sorry, can you do average sales again? Just a couple first steps.
Yep. The one to get average, that was just kind of a starting point for us. But if you click the arrow where it says measure, instead of sum, just click average.
All right, on your filter, on top where it says measure name, did you do anything? I'm saying like 3 lines not there.
I cheated and used the show me to make a table.
Okay.
But in here, this will just be whatever the measures that we currently have down here at our measure values.
Okay.
So as long as you're dragging them down here, it should work.
All right, sound great. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Now, let's clean this up just a little bit because Tableau, by default, when you do quick table calculations, is really, really descriptive. Sorry, Amza, your keyboard, it sounds very buttery, but it's a little loud, so I muted you. By default, it's very, very descriptive in its column titles here. So this is running sum of sales along table down, running difference in sales from the previous along. So those are very confusing. So if we just right click into those, it will give us this option to edit alias. And I'm just going to call this running sum. I'm going to right click into this one, edit alias, and just call this difference. And then we still just have our sales at the end here.
What do we name it again?
Yeah. You can name them whatever you want, just something a little shorter. All right, we're going to keep working our way down that list. So in our fourth one here, the one that doesn't have the triangle, the last one that's just the sales, go ahead and click that arrow, quick table calc. We've done running total, we've done difference. Now we're going to do percent difference. And then once again, we're going to drag just normal sales back up on the bottom just to have that to compare against. So this is taking that same difference that we just calculated, but instead of showing it as just a dollar amount here, 213,000, which is the difference between this one and this one, it's showing it as a percentage. So 328,000 sales for our chairs is 185% different than our furniture. The 91,000 sales for furnishing is a negative 72% difference from our chairs. This is 125%, 206 to 91% difference all the way down. So again, if we were to remember on Wednesday night, because we did this, we did the lookup value to get the previous year. We had the sum of sales for the current year. We created a new calculated field to subtract the 2 to get the difference. And then we actually would have taken a fourth calculated field to then do difference divided by current year to get this calculated field. Now we can just click a button and have it pop up here. So let's right click into the title here, edit alias, and let's just call this percent difference. All right, so far so good. We're chugging right along. Same routine. Our bottom sales, the one that doesn't have the triangle on it, just our normal sales. Click the arrow. Quick table calculation. We've done running total. We've done difference. We've done percent difference. Now for a fun one, which will add in a new little wrinkle. Click percent of total. So this should update percent of total. And then let's bring, again, just our regular sales back to the bottom here to compare against.
We didn't do anything with the first average sales, right?
Nope. Now what this is doing is actually pretty similar to a pie chart. We did this same calculation on Wednesday as well too, where we did the fixed level of detail calc to get the sum of sales across the whole category. And then we divided the sum of sales divided by that whole thing. Again, don't need to do the level of detail calc. Don't need to do a secondary calculated field. This is just showing of our total sales, the 2,297,201. The 114,000 makes up exactly 5% of our total sales. This makes up 14% of our total sales, so on and so forth. However, I said that there was going to be a new wrinkle in this one. So if we go into this, it's the second one from the bottom. If you ever, I know it's kind of confusing because they all say sum of sales with a triangle, but the order that they're in here for our measure values is the order that they show up here, right? So average sales is the first one, running sum is the second one, difference. So we're going to go into the one we just created, percent of total sales, along table down. And where it says, instead of doing quick table calc, we're going to do compute using. And you see these options, table across, table down, table, pane down, pane. Who wants to take a stab at what the difference is between a table down and a pane down? Any guesses?
Is this similar to drill through and drill down?
Sorry, say that one more time.
I was asking if it's similar to like how you drill through data and drill down. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that method. Yeah,
I think you're on the right
Okay.
direction there.
So I think table down probably diving into the charts or the data and then pane down. Oh, well, it says pane down. I'm not sure which one is which now. Okay.
Yeah. So in our table here,
Mhm.
you're on the right track, Samuel. Right now, if I hover compute using, I'm doing the entire table,
Mhm.
and I'm calculating it all the way up and down. So this is 5% of the total table of sales. A pane is essentially just a subsection. So see how there's little
subsections.
lines that go across here? Yeah.
Yes.
So furniture, office supply, and technology would be our different panes. So this is the percent of total sales. If I wanted the percent of furniture sales, just furniture, I'd click into this and I would do compute using pane down.
Oh, perfect.
Now you can see that these four right here add up to 1 or 100%. These 9 right here add up to 1. So this bookcases went from being 5% of the total sales to 15% of just the furniture sales. So that's the difference between the whole table and a specific pane. Now the down versus the across, really the only difference there is if I, see you can have table across. If I had my rows and columns switched, And so I was looking, all my sums were listed across the top instead of up or down. I would do table across, right? But since we're structuring it this way, where all of our categories and subcategories are listed up and down, that's when I would want down. So that's the difference between table down, pane down. 99, maybe not 99, 95% of the time, all you're going to have to worry about is table down versus pane down, at least if you're smart and build your tables this way. Where it says table, obviously, would be if I had multiple dimensions across the top and the bottom, and I wanted the percent of the total just in the table. Pane would be same thing. If it was across and down, I wanted the whole pane. Cell wouldn't really make sense unless we brought in a ton of different dimensions and there were multiple things inside of one specific cell, which you would never use. And then the bottom two are just the same thing as the pane and the table, except what our actual rows are. So again, don't worry about all that. Table down, the whole thing, pane down, just within the kind of subcategory that you're in. Does that make sense? Cool. So now let's edit the alias for this one. Well, let's just call this percent of category sales. All right, just a couple more. So again, our bottom sales here. Hopefully you guys have the hang of this by now. We're going to click that arrow. Quick table calc. We've done all of these, percent of total. Now we're going to do rank. So what rank is doing is going through, whoops, let's bring just our normal sales again back onto the bottom to compare against. You can see rank number one is phones. That's 330,000 in total sales. So just quickly, you can glance. That's our number one sales category. Number two is chairs at 328,000. Number three, storage at 223. All the way down to number 17, those dang fasteners. We just don't make a ton of money off of those at only 3,000 sales. Again, you guys don't need to do this if you don't want to. But if I wanted just the rank across just for our categories, I'd change this to compute using instead of table down, pane down. Then here you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I actually use rank quite a bit when I'm coloring different things. If I want to show them, which one's number one all the way down, I won't actually show the rank, but I'll drag rank onto color. Because by default, we've done the coloring before. It goes whatever your minimum value is to your maximum value there. So if you have a ton that are super close, they're all kind of the same color. And then one that's really far off is a drastically different color. Sometimes I just want it to be colored by the rank, not relative to what they are to each other. So I'll drag that on there. Sometimes I'll use rank for like sorting stuff in the background. Sometimes I just want to highlight what our top category is, or a top subcategory inside of each category. So I could use the rank there, and then I have 3 number ones, right? So each one of these could be highlighted a different color there. So rank is actually a super useful function to kind of have in your back pocket to use in the background. You guys don't have to follow along with this part, but let me just show you what I mean. Like if I were to have category, subcategory, sales here. If I were to drag sales onto color, right, I get something like this. Maybe I change this instead of sales to a quick table calc, and I do rank. And then I do compute using pane down. Then I change this to discrete. Then I can edit my colors, make one blue, make the rest of these like gray or something. Now here's my top sales for each category here using the rank. All right, just a couple more, then we'll take a break. Our bottom sales here, actually real quick, just because it bothers me, let's change this at an alias. Let's just call this rank. All right, our bottom sales, quick table calc, percentile, and then drag sales back onto the bottom to compare against. So a percentile is essentially just a rank, but shown as a percentage. So maybe you guys have heard this in like standardized tests and stuff, where you're the top 100, you're in the top 99th percentile, right? That means you're the top 1%, or from a rank perspective, that would be like number 1, as opposed to being in the top 30th percentile. That'd mean that they're 70% higher than you, so not a very high rank. So that's essentially what this is just showing, is for each one of these, right? 330, that's the 100th percentile because it's the top 1. But our number 2 rank from earlier, that's the 93rd percentile, so on and so forth. So same thing as the rank, but just shown as a percentage, where 100% is the top 1 and 0% is the bottom 1. I can't say I've ever used percentile before, but we know how now. So we'll call that percentile. And then our very last one, click into our bottom sales, quick table calculation, and we'll do a moving average. And then drag sales back onto the bottom for comparison. This is just taking our average. Again, if you hover over it, it gives you way too much context. But you can see it's going table down. So obviously our first one, our average is 114,000. Our next one is, our average is 221, right? Which would be the average between these two. And our next one comes in at 91. So you can see our moving average goes down, so on and so forth. So I use moving averages a lot when my data is really jumpy. So for instance, again, you don't have to follow along with this part, but we've done something like this, order date before, and our sales kind of go all over the place like this. Sometimes I will bring on a dual axis and I'll change this to a moving average. So you can see that this smooths it out a little bit. And then I'll do a dual axis like this. And then I'll make this one like really kind of in the background where you can barely see it. So you can see what my actual data points were throughout the whole thing, where they jump up and down, but I have something that's a little smoother and easier to see the trends with the moving average over the top. There are obviously a million different use cases for these different things. You can see that the two that I just showed obviously are in chart types that aren't tables. The reason I like to go all through them all in a table is just to get a really clear, easy layout of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different quick table calcs in kind of a one-stop shop. So you can see the differences between the two. But again, obviously the power of these comes from not when you just plot them on a table and show them by themselves, but when you combine them in with some of the other chart types, like a real basic bar chart here with a rank to highlight the top sales per category, a real simple dual axis chart here with a moving average to smooth out some of our sporadicness in the data, so on and so forth. So that is 7 different quick table calcs. I can't even begin to explain how hard those would have been calculated manually using level of detail calcs and calculated fields that we did on Wednesday. But like I said, they are your best friend. I use them all the time. Any questions on quick table calcs before we take a break? No? All right. You know the drill. Let's go 10 minutes. Let's be back here at 7:07 p.m. CST.
Sorry, can you put that chart back? I'm still catching up.
This one?
Sheet 1, yep. If I can see all of it. Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
should go by high school. Yeah, no, you can imagine.
All right, let's get going. The next little section here should only take about half an hour, maybe even less. So we should have plenty of time for homework at the end and get out here nice and early tonight before we kind of hit our home stretch. So we covered quick table calcs. As you can see, when I clicked into one of these, quick table calculation, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that we covered were the ones in black. You can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 grayed out underneath these. Those are the ones that we're going to be calculating next. So those are grayed out because they need to have a year involved. They're all date related. So we'll cover those 4 real quick, then get going. So let's create a brand new sheet, new worksheet. Yep.
I thought I saved it. I saved it to Tableau Public, and I had it. I exited out of it.
That should be fine. If you go to your Tableau Public, you should be able to download it and open it right back up. Let me show you how. So if you just go out to your Tableau Public.
I closed out all the way to get to where he was going to the blue screen. But I closed the app and I restarted every time. Is there an easier way to get that blue screen?
It should just let's just do it real quick.
We can just get file and open, right?
Yeah, that would work too. All right. So those bottom ones, like I said, need dates. So let's go ahead and bring order date over to our columns. And then what's really nice about Tableau is you can actually, if I were to publish this right now, see how there's this little plus sign when I hover over this? Users can actually go in and click into this and drill down into quarters and months and so on and so forth, all from this original year. You can do it up here as well too, right? Drill in. It's not the point. I was just trying to show you guys Tableau tip and trick. But if we have our years in there, you can drill in all the way to months if you want, or you can just drag another order date up there. It'll populate down. I'm going to drill all the way into months, and then I'm just going to drag the quarter off. So we have something like this, just year and month. You could keep going if you want. You can drill in. There's days. If it was a date time, you could actually drill into hours as well too, but it's not. Okay, everyone have this so far? Thumbs up. Sweet. Yep. Year and month, yeah, I drug the quarter off. You could keep it in there if you want. Doesn't matter. All right. Sorry, do you have a question? Yep. Yeah, just because we don't have anything loaded up into, we don't have a measure in there yet. All right. So let's go ahead and drag sales onto our rows. We should get something like this. We're going to leave that one the same, and we're just going to keep dragging different things onto our rows, kind of like we did last time. So let's drag sales up there again. And we should have in our rows 2 different sum of sales. You see here's 1, here's 2. Over here on our marks, you can see, like we talked about with our dual axis, here's 1, here's 2. Here's all of them. Everyone have this so far? Cool. So now let's click into our second one here. And when we go to quick table calculations, you can see our bottom 4 are now lit up. So we talked about the first 7 here. The bottom 4 we needed a date for. Now we have a date so we can do it. So YTD total stands for year to date total. So if I click into this, you can see I still have my sales up top. Now I have this chart here. Who wants to guess what this is doing? It's actually very similar to something that we just talked about. Correct. Yep. All this is doing is just a running total. So it's super similar to this running sum here, where it's adding them up over time, except now it's year to date. So it's just going right in January. This year to date would just be January. In February, the year to date would be January and February. In March, the year to date would be January, February, and March. So all it's doing is just a running total. And our panes in this case, right, instead of doing like a pane across, which is what we would have done with categorical data, our pane is just the year. So in 2015, our year to date is just the year 2015 to the date that we're in. So it's January here, so on and so forth. So you could say in July, year to date, we've made $186,000, even though in July by itself, we only made $28,000. So again, don't do this part, but this is also something that I'll do sometimes is I'll do a dual axis here. So you can show, sorry, and then I would do like synchronize axes here. So I could see our individual months and then show the year to date at the same time. But we're going to keep going through some different examples there. So here's just our total sums. here's our year to date. Again, let's double click into here and change this from being running sum of sales to just doing YTD, year to date sales.
Can you repeat that just one more time, that step you just did?
Yep, just double click into the axis.
Okay.
And down at the title, just type in
Perfect.
YTD sales.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. And then just to break up these colors a little bit and show different ones, again, over here is on our marks. We have all, which would update both of them. We have the sum of sales, which would just update this one. Let's click into our bottom one and just change the color to something different, just so we can show the differences between these two. We're not going to do a dual axis for an example, but if you wanted to, you just right click on the axis here and click dual axis. Yeah, but we're going to do, whoops, we're going to add in a few more different ones here. Okay, let's drag sales up to our rows again. So it should be the third one we have up here. Right, here's our sum of sales on the first row. We have our year-to-date total, which we just calculated. And now we have sales again. Let's click into that third one on the arrow. Quick table calculation. And we have the compound growth rate. This one I'm going to spend about 5 seconds talking about it because I'm not in finance and I don't understand what the compound growth rate is. So when I teach this class every year, I Google it. And I read this. Compound growth rate is a business economics investing term representing the mean annualized growth rate for compounding values over a given time period. CAGR smooths the effect of volatility and periodic values that can render arithmetic means less meaningful. That's how you calculate it. I've never used it once. I use it twice a year when I teach this class in the spring and the fall. I don't touch it again. But and if any of you want to go into finance or like invest in a business or something, it seems like something that you would potentially need to understand. But we're not going to cover it anymore other than clicking into the axis and changing this to the compound growth rate. And again, it will be our third one now. Just change the color to something different. Has anyone used compound growth rate before? Know what it means? Care about it at all? Really? Like the longer you go without paying your interest, the more and more. Yeah. Well, there you go. If you wanted to connect your credit card to a live data source and calculate your compound growth rate, you guys know how now. All right. So now we should have 3 sales, year-to-date sales, compound growth rate, 3 different ones on our rows, 3 different colors here. The next one I do use a ton. So let's bring sales up to here for our 4th time. Let's click into it, quick table calc. And this is year over year growth. So what this is doing is it's looking at what the previous year in that month, what the percent growth was. So we know in January 2014, we did 14,000 in sales. In January 2015, we did 18,000 in sales. So if we hover over here, that's a 27% increase in total sales that we did. So you would use this a ton. Builder Trend, for instance, is a very seasonal business. In the winter times, no one is building houses and they're typically investing in their businesses. So they will buy software. So our winter months, we get a ton of sales. Our summer months, everyone is busy building homes, so they don't have time to go and buy new softwares. So we typically see lower sales. So if we were to just compare every single month, we'd see this kind of fluctuating of high and then low sales, high and then low sales. So it gets really frustrating when, January, now we're getting into February, some places are getting warmer. Then March, we see our sales go down. It's like, month over month, like our sales are down. Well, what is it year over year? So you compare, you kind of get rid of that seasonality, look at January compared to January, February compared to February, March compared to March, so on and so forth. So you can see it looks like the Superstore data is actually a little bit that way as well too, where they typically have their bigger sales months towards the end of the year. Each one of these is going up and to the right throughout the course of the year. So this would normalize for that seasonality a little bit, even though they get way more sales in December than they do January. If they were to compare it year over year, it's actually only a 7% increase or whatever. And you can have some years that are negative, right? So in June, they actually did less sales, 24,000 versus 34,000. So they actually had a negative 28% increase year over year. Any questions on year over year differences there? Sweet. Let's double click into this one. Since they use the YTD for year to date, we're going to use Y over YOY for year over year. I love acronyms. Year over year sales. Let's color it something a little different. All right, and then the very last one, drag sales one last time up onto your rows. Click into that arrow. Quick table calcs and year-to-date growth. So this one is very similar to year-over-year sales, comparing January to January, February to February. But with it being year-to-date, what would be the difference between the two? Any guesses? What was that? Exactly. So year over year is just looking at the individual months. January 2015 compared to January 2014. February 2015, February 2014. The difference in the year to date we'll actually look at similar to our year to date sales, right, which is our running sum. The year to date difference is going to be everything up until this point. So everything up until June compared to everything up until June here. So it would be comparing all of these, well, I guess all of these, which is our year to date in June, compared to all of these, which is our year to date in June, and what the difference is there. So year over year, just looking at individual months, January compared to January, year to date difference for January would actually be the same, but then February would look at February compared to just February. For year over year, year to date would be January and February compared to January and February, then January, February, and March, January, February, and March. So now towards the end of the year, you could look at, okay, well, in October, we know from our running total, our year-to-date sales, that we're at 319,000. How does that compare to where we're at in October last year? We're ahead or behind of where we're at. So you can actually see here, even though these go up and down and up and to the right a little bit, towards the end of the year, they're typically pretty flat, pretty close to 0%. This one, they had a good 2016, and a good 2017 as well too. So that would allow you to see the total year up until where we're at right now. How does that compare to the total year up until where we're at year over year? Does that make sense? Questions on the year-to-date difference?
We have multiple like this, dual axis combine all of them, or the dual axis combine just two?
Dual axis can only combine two. Yep.
Then we have dual axis multiple times.
Yeah, if we wanted to show these all on one chart, we would probably need to calculate them prior to bringing them into Tableau, so that they were all just in one column, kind of stacked on top of each other.
I wonder what that would look like.
Be ugly.
Super messy.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I would actually argue that like having all of these on one chart type would probably be a little too convoluted to really understand the differences. This is actually like total sales year to date. I'd probably get rid of compound growth rate, but year over year, and let's call this year to date difference. these are typically like the only 4 metrics that you would really care about in a business like this. So I publish dashboards that literally look exactly like this with builder trends, real data as kind of a snapshot of where we're at in the year, the month, year over year, year to date. It kind of gives you everything that you need all in one.
So is this saving it automatically?
No.
Okay.
Great question. Man, I've had some serious scares in my life when I've worked on a dashboard for like a day, and then I look up and see that it's still titled book 1. I'm like, oh no. Because sometimes when you bring in really heavy data sets with millions of rows, it will crash Tableau. I will say it has a very good like auto recover feature. So if it were to crash, it would pop back up and like, would you like to pick up where you just left off? But no, you should be saving very.
So it only saves like when you publish?
Yeah, but you can publish, you can save locally, apparently now, or you can publish to Tableau and just, once it's published, you can click save a million different times every 2 seconds and it works just like normal.
You can save it as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it a common thing on Macs where it crashes sometimes? So at least like once a week it'll crash on me. I have a few different computers. Like I've got my desktop. I use Apple, so I've got my Mac for work. I've got my desktop. That's also an iMac, but it'll do that if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna spend 2 hours doing homework or I'm gonna log in. It'll be like, it'll crash.
Yeah.
Thing for like Macs, or is that kind of a?
I actually don't think I've ever used Tableau on a Mac before. So I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I'm actually using Mac and I'm actually experiencing the same issues you're having. Yeah, every now and then it
Really?
does crash. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I don't know if it's a Mac thing. Maybe we could talk about it, just us.
I know, right? Yeah. I think I was thinking about it. I'm gonna run an update tonight and see. Well, it hasn't crashed today, so.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it hasn't crashed. I just sometimes if I'm doing something, especially of course doing homework, right? Like they'll be like, "Oh, it crashed." And it's like, well, I can still play catch up, but it's just something to put out there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Cool. Any other questions? Okay, kind of fun homework tonight. I think it's fun at least. And we're not actually going to use any of the things that we just talked about for the homework. Tonight is to think through a little bit more on how data is structured and what's conducive to Tableau versus not. I'm guessing you guys have already gotten a pretty good understanding of that using the homework up to this point, where you'll find data sets that you want to use and you're like, this is not good at all for Tableau. So we're going to take the power into our own hands tonight, and we're going to build our own data set. So it can be about anything or everything that you care about. So I've had people do budget type stuff before. I've had people do tracking their steps before. I've had people do how much water they drink in a day, chore list that I mentioned about. Favorite TV shows. I actually built one time about The Office, which was really cool. So don't spend a ton of time on it. Something that you have readily available. It can be made up data like we just did before class. But make your own data set, just like I did with you guys with our favorite chart types or whatever, and bring it into Tableau. Build something, doesn't matter what, kind of like night one, a chart, a bar, whatever, and publish and send me the link. Yeah, question.
Do you have any suggestions of how many rows and how many columns it should be?
No, I don't. Whatever you want. Yep. I would try to think of something that has some aspect of like categories to it, so that you can like group by it. Like in here, right? We have our favorite charts that we could group by, and I'd probably try to have something numerical that you can measure by. But anything more than, 4 or 5 rows will give you the opportunity to measure and sum and stuff like that. Obviously, but again, the goal of this is to make you think through what data works how in Tableau. So we've always been on the front end of having the data and making it work in Tableau. Now we know how Tableau works really in depth. You guys are already better than 90% of the people out there from a Tableau understanding. Now we need to think through what data is conducive to good Tableau. So if I wanted to build some line charts, right, I would probably need a date in there so that I can have how stuff changed over time. If I wanted a scatter plot, I would need to have multiple measures. So I could have something on the x-axis and on the y-axis. If I wanted to do any of the calculations that we did in here with the percent of total or anything like that, I'd probably need 2 categories, category and a subcategory.
Why is Amazon?
What was that?
That was a YouTube video playing because I am.
Oh.
I'm trying to log off my computer and go home. So
Yeah, all good. I thought you were asking me why Amazon was doing something. I was like, I
My
don't know.
Tableau just crashed, Hamza. So
that was the universe saying it's time to
Time to wrap it up. Cool. If you guys wanted to take it a step further, and if you think this is something that you'll want to track outside of just a normal homework assignment, feel free to do it in Google Drive. Go back and watch the start of the video on how I connected everything and make a live dashboard. Or obviously come in early on Wednesday and we can talk through that live as well too. But again, I just really want you guys thinking through how does my data need to be structured and what sort of data do I need in order to make a chart here. Did you have another question, Celeste?
Yeah, so people have been canceling appointments already for Wednesday because we're having snow.
Yes, I talked about that before you got here. I will message in Slack on Wednesday by noon at the absolute latest. Gut check if there's any snow at all. We'll do it virtually again. But I also went on a rant about how much I distrust weathermen. So if it doesn't snow, it's just easier for me to be in here. So even if I come in, use your best judgment if you don't feel comfortable driving and just join virtually.
Email last time, that worked very well.
Yep, I'll do Slack and email.
The roads were very dangerous.
Yeah. It's just the only scenario I could see is it's just so much. I have all my things. I have so many screens here. It's easier for me to teach here. So even if I say I'm going to be in office in here, don't feel obligated to come in. We'll obviously.
Sure, I'll try to.
No, then you're going to get in a wreck and I'm going to get sued. So don't do that. But I will send a message letting you guys know on Wednesday.
Will you come here and teach to nobody?
Yeah, I will. I'll probably stay home. If I were to be honest with you guys, I'd say there's a 90% chance that we were going to do virtual again on Wednesday. And I've already figured out, we kind of beta tested it last week. I know I have my Ethernet cord plugged in now. I have everything good to go. So, okay. Any questions on the homework? I understand that it's a little vague, but that's kind of the point. This is a really, really useful skill set to have. Someday you guys will have jobs and you won't just be building out reports off the data. You'll actually be in charge of figuring out how we want the data structured, what we want to collect. Like I said, with new pricing and packaging that we just rolled out at Builder Trend, we had an entire 4-hour workshop just thinking through what are all the things that we're going to want to measure, all the questions that we're going to have, all the answers that we're going to need to be able to provide. Let's make sure that we're setting this up to capture all that data. There's nothing worse than going a month with something new and someone asks you, well, how did this perform? And we're like, we don't even have that data to answer that question, right? You have another question?
Yeah, because when you use this at work, then you're going to be the one who's going to be responsible for really knowing what people need to look for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're going through we have this, I'll give you another real life example. We have this field inside of Salesforce called confidence rating. It's just 1 through 5. And a sales guy talks to somebody. If they don't buy, they'll hang up and he'll type in 5. This guy's definitely going to buy tomorrow. He just needed to call his bank. Or 1, this guy told me to buzz off. Don't call him again. We just found out today that sales reps aren't ever updating that after they have that initial call. So we have people that are likely to close still labeled as a 1 and people that told you to buzz off labeled as a 5. So now we're going through and actually after doing process changes, teaching our floor on how to collect better data for us so we can show the sales pipeline and forecast how many sales that we're going to do this month. So building reports is one skill set, but you can only build reports based off the data that you have. So understanding what data you need is another really, really valuable skill set.
Yeah, it's where, to me, finding the right data set's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
There's just so much out there, and you got to think of one thing out of all that.
Yeah.
You click into it, and it doesn't have the amount of data you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the hardest.
But now you guys have a really deep understanding of how Tableau works, so you should be able to make your perfect data set that works really, really well for it. Like I said, once you get into the Tableau, build one or two things: a chart, a bar, it doesn't matter, publish it. But building the data set's the important part. Cool. Any other questions on the homework?
I'm sorry, I type very hard. I just get very excited. It's
Totally fine.
It's the grant writer in me. I just get very passionate. So
I love it. I am a huge keyboard enthusiast. I have 5 different keyboards at work right now, all with different switches and keycaps. And my favorite keyboards are really loud, clacky ones. I just find it really satisfying. People hate me. Cool. All right. I'll stick around here for another 30 minutes to an hour. If you guys have questions, I will end the stream from a recording standpoint. So we don't have a 3-hour long recording, but I'll keep the stream going if anyone wants to stick around virtually. Otherwise, I will see you guys Wednesday, either in person or virtually. Like I said, I will let you know.
bye, Charlie. Bye, class. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Can you send the requirements in writing, please?
Yes, I will.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks.
I'll type that in Slack right now.
Thank you.
Whoops. Did not mean to send it that soon.
I need to request a new Slack invite. I don't know what happened. It just.
I don't know. So you have Slack, just not in the channel.
Yeah. The channel just disappeared.
Do you have it open right now? Be careful, come work.
It was there.
Okay, now go back to Slack. Okay, you need to get added to the, that's the issue. Not channel, but like group. That's weird that it was in there though. What's your email?
BOLAN
22@gmail. Actually, let's do this. Copy invite link. Okay, let's try that. Okay, I think we got it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, super weird. Don't know why that happened. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, you have a good night, man.
Yep. See you.
See you soon. Yep.